The News Edge at 6 starts now with disturbing new video in the Suitcase murder trial.
Were you guys drinking and it got out of hand and it got physical?
No. Sunday was one of the better days that we have had in quite some time.
We go inside the interrogation room with Sarah Boone. She's accused of killing her boyfriend by zipping him inside a suitcase.
Have you ever zipped him up in a suitcase prior?
No.
Imagine a game of hide and seek that ends in death. In February 2020, Sarah Boone, a 42-year-old woman from Winter Park, Florida, called 911 with a chilling report. Her boyfriend, Jorge Torres Jr., was dead inside a suitcase. She claimed it was a tragic accident during a playful evening, but as investigators delved deeper, a more disturbing narrative emerged.
Is this a police or medical? My boyfriend is dead. Okay, send the line for the fire department. Do not hang up.
Fire risk. That's the location, Mercy.
That's 32.
No, please don't leave.
4748 France Lane, apartment 3.
France Court.
France Court.
Yes.
Okay, is this near Mackenzie Drive?
I don't know where that is.
Okay, fine, okay.
It's Gilwood Park Apartments.
Okay, 4748 France, correct?
Correct.
All right, correct. Now tell me exactly what happened there.
My boyfriend and I were playing last night, and I put him in a suitcase and we were playing. And like kind of hide and seek kind of thing. So I fell asleep and I woke up and he was dead in the suitcase. So I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
Right, okay, what's your apartment number?
To understand the tragedy that unfolded inside that Winter Park apartment, one must first understand the deeply fractured relationship between Sarah Boone and Jorge Torres Jr. According to court records and police reports, their relationship was anything but stable. It was marked by frequent arguments, emotional volatility, and multiple incidents of domestic violence. Both Boone and Torres had previously been arrested for battery during their time together. Each had called the police on the other at different times. It wasn't a one-sided cycle of abuse. It was mutual, chaotic, and dangerous. Despite the red flags, they stayed together. Friends and neighbors described the couple as unpredictable. One day they'd be affectionate in public. The next, they'd be screaming loud enough for others to hear through the walls. Still, no one imagined it would escalate to the level of fatal violence. Boone, a former substitute teacher with no prior serious criminal history, painted herself as a victim of prolonged abuse. She later told authorities that Torres had been violent with her on multiple occasions, claiming she was often afraid of him. However, prosecutors would later argue that this history, while messy, didn't excuse what came next, and that the power dynamics on the night of the suitcase incident were clear. Their toxic relationship set the stage for something horrific. But even then, no one expected what police would find on Boone's cell phone, evidence that would take this case from a tragic accident to something far darker.
Let's talk about Sarah Boone.
Okay.
So typically I've been trying to set Miss Boone for a separate date because she wants to be present for any discussions about the status of the case. She's authored another letter to the court, substantially similar to the letter she's authored in the past. So I've just had that directed by Jay to disclose that to you and Mr. Cacciatore. Do we already have a specific status date separate from today set?
Judge, I believe it's set. There's something set at 3 o'clock this afternoon on my calendar, but hopefully we can resolve that now.
What turned the Sarah Boone case from a potential accident into a suspected act of intentional cruelty wasn't just the odd circumstances, it was what investigators discovered on her phone. During a routine search of Boone's cell phone, detectives uncovered 2 disturbing video clips. Each filmed during the night Jorge Torres Jr. died. These videos, now central to the prosecution's case, painted a dramatically different picture from Boone's initial account to 911. In the first video, Torres is seen trapped inside the zipped suitcase, struggling to breathe. His voice is strained, panicked. "I can't breathe," he says multiple times. "Sarah, seriously." Boone's voice is clearly audible in the background. She doesn't sound alarmed. She doesn't move to help him. Instead, she responds with sarcasm and mocking remarks, including, "That's what you do when you choke me, and for everything you've done to me." The second video, recorded later, shows the suitcase still zipped shut, Torres now silent inside. The timestamps on the videos suggest that Boone recorded them well before calling 911 the following afternoon. According to investigators, she left him trapped for hours, made no attempt to rescue him, and then tried to portray his death as an accident. This digital evidence dismantled Boone's defense almost instantly. It showed not only awareness of the situation, but apparent indifference, or even intent. What began as a claim of a game gone wrong quickly unraveled into a suspected act of revenge.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
You.
Sarah.
You.
Sarah.
Stupid.
Sarah.
That's my name. Don't wear it up.
Sarah. I can't breathe, babe. Seriously.
Yeah, that's when you do when you choke me.
Sarah. Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
That's on you.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
It's on you.
Sarah.
Reel around some. Might want to get video for it extra. Because I got this.
Sarah.
Reel around
Sarah. Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
Oh. That's what I feel like when you ching on me.
Sarah. Please, Sarah.
Yeah. You should probably shut up.
Sarah.
When the case of Sarah Boone went to trial, it immediately drew national attention, not just for the bizarre and tragic circumstances of Jorge Torres Jr.'s death, but for the disturbing evidence at the heart of it. Boone faced a charge of second-degree murder, which in Florida implies an act evincing a depraved mind without premeditation. The prosecution argued exactly that. Sarah Boone had knowingly and deliberately zipped her boyfriend inside a suitcase, filmed his cries for help, and then left him there to die. Their strongest evidence was, of course, the cell phone videos. They presented them as clear proof of intent. Prosecutors claimed that Boone's mocking tone, her references to past abuse, and her refusal to intervene, even while recording, showed a conscious decision to inflict harm. Boone's defense told a very different story. They painted her as a woman, trapped in a cycle of domestic abuse, someone whose actions were the result of prolonged trauma and emotional exhaustion. They described her as suffering from battered woman syndrome, a psychological condition stemming from sustained abuse that may influence perception and behavior in extreme situations. Her attorneys insisted that she had not intended for Jorge to die, and that her state of mind that night was clouded by fear, alcohol, and years of emotional turmoil. Still, jurors were faced with undeniable evidence, Torres begging for help, and Boone's calm, even cruel responses. It would be up to them to decide whether this was an act of panic or premeditated cruelty. After days of gripping testimony and gut-wrenching evidence, the jury deliberated for less than a full day. Their verdict? Guilty of second-degree murder. Sarah Boone stood still, her face unreadable as the decision was read aloud in the courtroom. Her defense team had fought hard to present her as a battered woman acting out of emotional distress. But in the end, the jury sided with the prosecution, citing the damning cell phone videos and Boone's own words as proof that Jorge Torres Jr.'s death was no accident. Judge Mark Spicer addressed the court before delivering the sentence. He acknowledged the history of mutual abuse in the relationship, but made it clear that the evidence spoke for itself. This was a man locked inside a suitcase, pleading for his life. The decision not to help him was not an accident, it was a choice. Sarah Boone was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom was silent, but outside, emotions ran high. Advocates for domestic abuse survivors expressed concern that the case might send a complicated message, while others insisted justice had been served. The case sparked a national conversation about toxic relationships, psychological trauma, and accountability. For Jorge Torres Jr.'s family, the sentence brought some closure, but not peace. "He didn't deserve to die like that," his sister told reporters. "We just want people to remember that he was more than a headline."
My son is not here no more. She don't only kill my son, she killed a father, a brother, an uncle. It's been hard. I'm a family because all the brothers, they will always work together. But now it's like something real. Love is missing. Sometimes when I look out the window, I'm waiting for him to come and say, "Mom, I love you." She was always there. She called and called me. I missed us, Mommy.
And with that, a haunting chapter in Winter Park's history finally reached its legal end. The Sarah Boone case isn't just shocking because of how Jorge Torres Jr. died. It's disturbing because of what it revealed about human behavior behind closed doors. On the surface, it was a tragic end to a toxic relationship. But beneath that, it exposed a more uncomfortable truth. That abuse can take many forms, and sometimes the lines between victim and perpetrator are blurred by years of emotional damage, poor decisions, and unchecked anger. Boone and Torres were both known to law enforcement. Their relationship was a documented pattern of violence, accusations, reconciliations, and chaos. But as investigators and prosecutors made clear, past abuse cannot excuse present cruelty, especially not when it leads to a slow, recorded death. The videos found on Boone's phone were more than just evidence. They were a glimpse into a moment where empathy vanished and power took its place. In those final hours, Jorge Torres Jr. was no longer seen as a person, but a symbol of resentment, control, and pain. The public reaction was polarizing. Some saw Boone as a woman who finally snapped after enduring years of violence. Others saw a cold, calculated killer who used her history as a shield. But no matter the perspective, one thing is undeniable. A man lost his life in a suitcase, slowly, alone, begging for help. This case serves as a brutal reminder. Domestic violence doesn't always end in a visible bruise. Sometimes, it ends in silence, zipped away, until it's too late. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more real-life true crime stories. And let us know in the comments. What do you think really happened that night? Could this have been prevented?